American poet Maya Angelou once said that if you don't know where you've come from, you don't know where you're going. Monuments provide a window into the past, but in a modernized society, few pay attention to them and the rich cultural history that they carry. Well, Citizen TV's Brian Mutai visited some inconspicuous monuments in Nairobi and has the story.
When you think of a monument, probably what comes to your mind is this Dedan Kimathi statue or the Tom Mboya one. But there are many other monuments which may be unknown to you here in the city and its environs. We are here to find out where they are and why they exist.
In Kenya, especially here in Nairobi, I know of various monuments, Dedan Kimathi, I know of Tom Mboya.
Hizo nyumba zinatukumbusha tu mahali Nairobi imetoka. Zimejengwa tu nyumba za kitambo na ni mzuri.
There is no much, sensitization of telling people the meaning of these monuments, but I understand they mean a lot.
Monuments take different shapes and sizes. Some are in the form of buildings, war heroes, gardens, mausoleums, and even treasured animals. The architecture of this building is unique and timeless, built way back in 1913 by the then colonial government. The old Pieces building is located at the junction of Uhuru Highway and Kenyatta Avenue. The exterior is decorated with columns, friezes, and pediments of natural stone, and the entrance leads into an octagonal-shaped hall covered with a beautiful dome-shaped ceiling. The surrounding rooms branch off from this central space.
This is Kenya's point zero. This is the point where all the distances across the country were measured from. And down here, when you look at it, we have different markings. These are the markings which are showing the 16 points of the canvas.
In a nutshell, any Kenyan map that you see has its point zero at this location. The building currently houses the Nairobi Gallery, which holds temporary exhibitions, the Murumbi collection exhibition being one of them.
Even before he joined politics, he started collecting books.
Named after Kenya's second vice president, who served for only 6 months in that position, he was an avid art collector and during his life acquired over 50,000 books and sheaves of official correspondence.
That was an attire which was worn by the wife Sheila Murumbi during African Heritage Nights. And the one on my right is the one which was worn by Joseph Murumbi during African Nights. They loved them so much, so anytime there was African Heritage Nights, that is the attire they used to put on.
Standing a few meters across the road is Kipande House. Historians say Africans working for the colonial masters in Nairobi used to come to this house to be registered and then issued with identification cards. That is how it got its name Kipande House, built in 1913 by a wealthy Indian businessman. There are more monuments and iconic buildings. The Macmillan Library, one of the oldest and largest libraries in Nairobi. Established in 1931, the building was named after US philanthropist Sir William Northrop Macmillan. Today, the library houses an extensive African selection, as well as rare first edition books and works of art, including portraits and sculptures. The National Archives, the Bank of India building, and many other architectural masterpieces stand in the city. All of them are pieces of history that reside in our memory. But what is their significance? To get an impression of the mix of these historical pieces of art, how they came to be and why they exist, I make my way to the National Museums of Kenya, whose headquarters are here in Nairobi.
This is the first gallery you enter when you come into the National Museum, and this is what we call the Hall of Kenya. So it's an introduction to what Kenya is.
Carol is the head of communications here.
And then we have all these goods, which represent the diversity of the Kenyan people.
She helpfully gives me access to the annals of history.
You see this ceremonial garb? Our dress was beautiful. Historically, we lived in harmony with the animals that we had. So as Kenyans, it's imperative that we understand that the species we have on Kenya airspace must be protected, and the habitats that they come to are protected as well, because then our children and their children's children will be able to see the same species we are privileged to see now. I've told you about art, culture, history, and then there's natural heritage. Natural heritage is all the species we house within the Kenyan borders. We have to remember our past, and these monuments help us with tangible history to remember our past.
We have 371 gazetted sites and monuments in the country. When we gazette something as the National Museums of Kenya, it does not mean that the ownership becomes that of the National Museums of Kenya. All that the National Museums of Kenya is doing is protecting our heritage.
But monuments have become a point of controversy globally, with colonial statues vandalized or brought down as an act of protest in America, Canada and Europe. And whilst this has not been seen here,
well, in terms of protecting them, there's only so much we can do, but we do everything we can in terms of like the gazetting process, so that it becomes protected, and if anyone wants to come in and destroy it, legally that is, then they are prevented from the destruction in order to erect a 30-story building by that gazette notice.
Nevertheless, one may ask whether in the future, Kenyans may decide to localize some of these monuments so as not to erase history, which is impossible, but rather to delocalize the future.
From what we've just seen, Kenya is rich in its natural and cultural diversity, from birds to butterflies, lions to cheetahs, and even the very existence of monuments is evidence enough that lends credence to the existence of human life.
Brian Mutai, Citizen TV.